Good day, boys and girls, and welcome to another visual arts lesson. I'm your teacher, Mrs. Palmer Carroll. So, for today's lesson, we're going to have so much fun. Before, we were looking at artists and how they communicate their ideas. Do you remember what we were talking about? Yes, we're looking on types of artists, categories of different types of artists. Do you remember any? Very good. There's a painter. Any more? There's an animator. Yes. And somebody who does this type of work, right? It's called a ceramist. Very good. And later today, we're going to interview a ceramist artist. How cool is that? So we're going to have fun today. So we're looking on the type of artist. So we said a painter, a ceramist. We have a drawer, somebody who does drawing, right? We have a photographer, right? A photographer is someone who goes out professionally and take pictures, right? And we also look at 2D and 3D art. Now, do you remember the difference between 2D and 3D art? Do you remember? Yes, 2D art, two-dimensional artwork, is flat, okay? So here's an example of a two-dimensional artwork, okay? Can you see? Now, a two-dimensional artwork has 2 dimensions. What are the 2 dimensions again? Do you remember? Very good. Good job, right? We have length and we have width. Right. Now, when we say we have 3-dimensional artwork, three-dimensional, what are the 3 dimensions? All right, so we're going to use this again as an example. Good. So we have length, we have width, and we have depth. All right, we have depth. Okay? Now you remember the difference. Okay? Now, do you remember anything else that we did in this lesson? We created a papier-mâché artwork. Right, we did that in the last lesson, right? And remember what you drew? Yes, you drew a butterfly. Do you remember what you used to draw the butterfly? We used the number 8. And what other number did we use? The number 3. Very good, right? And we created a beautiful butterfly, right? And we also used papier-mâché, right? We used glue and paper. Soak it in water, right? And we did some squishing, right? And we created our relief sculpture. We also did a 2D painting. You remember that painting that we did earlier? Right. So for today's lesson, we're just going to have fun. Now with me is the artist, Sean Lawton, okay? Now we're going to talk briefly with Sean, and guess what? He's going to show us how to use the potter's wheel. Now, isn't that fun? No, and I'm going to learn, right? He's going to teach me how to do that, okay? So let us have a chat with Mr. Lawton. Now, good day, and how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Now, I'm viewing some of your pieces. They're lovely.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good. Now, this is similar to what the students would have done, right?
Yes.
Now, Sean is a ceramist artist, right? Very good. Now, in that case, what does he work on? Yes, he works with clay. Very good. So we're going to talk to Mr. Lawton. But the first question that we need to ask Mr. Lawton is about his background, right? Why was he interested in art? So let us hear from him. So Mr. Lawton, tell me about your background. Have you always been interested in art?
I certainly I've always been interested in art. I remember from I was a little boy, I've always enjoyed drawing. I've always enjoyed creating things. It was a means of therapy for me. It helped me to develop confidence. And so whereas I was not able to excel in other areas, this was one of the areas that really caused me to develop as a person and to grow. And to actually develop insights into, life and things.
Interesting. All right. So Mr. Lawton liked art from he was a boy. About what age, Mr. Lawton?
As early, well, according to my mother, I was drawing from as early as probably 3.
Oh,
There was
wow.
a television series by the name of Flipper.
Uh-huh.
And she reminded me in my teenage years that, oh, I remember the days when you used to draw the Flipper, the little dolphin. The
Wow.
little dolphin, and she was quite impressed. And she has been one of those persons who would have encouraged me
Very
to
good.
develop my talent as an artist.
Very good. So you hear that, boys and girls? From he was a little boy. Now, I heard you mention about drawing, but here I'm also looking at some ceramic pieces. So what's the transition?
Well, you know, drawing was always a background for me.
That's it.
My journey was, I don't think it was very unique and different from most professional artists. I started off with drawing first, and I learned how to represent three-dimensional in the form of an illusion. So it appears to be three-dimensional, but it's actually a two-dimensional work. I learned that first. Then I learned how to work with color. And then after that, I used my drawing knowledge to inform my ability to make things, because drawing gave me the ability to visualize three-dimensional forms before I even start making them.
That is very awesome, Mr. Lawton. So you understand now that Mr. Lawton, he learned how to draw first, right? And then he branched off into other areas. I'm sure you paint. Do you paint?
I do paint.
There you
I
go.
do paint.
So he's all-rounded, and that is very good. But I'm almost sure you specialize in ceramics.
I do.
Very good. So there you go. So you don't necessarily have to focus on one area. You can specialize in one area, but you can do other areas. Now, what's your biggest influence? Who influenced you?
Well, certainly my parents. My mother was a fashion designer.
Good.
And my father was a cabinet maker. And so I've always been exposed to persons who would use raw materials and create something from it.
Very
that was
good.
a huge fascination for me, how you put things together. My teachers,
Good.
my high school teacher would have been a huge source of inspiration. He was the person who helped me to connect the dots.
Wow.
As it relates to visual arts. So you would have learned some things, but he was the one who actually said, okay, this thing that you're doing and you're doing well at, this is what it's called.
Oh.
And so he's the one that gave me the theoretical background. And I guess when I got a little bit older, and I would have gone to the tertiary level.
Right.
Some of the persons who would have influenced me would have been persons like the Edna Manley, Jean Pearson,
Wow.
Philip Supersat, David Dunn, Cecil Baugh, are persons all from whom I would have drawn inspiration to inform how I go about representing something that is unique to our culture.
That is awesome. I'm intrigued just by listening to you.
Well,
all right.
thank you.
Good. Now we're going to talk about the pieces that you have here on the table. Now I'm going to hold this up so that you can see. Now this piece here, what's the title of it?
Actually, this one is not titled.
Okay.
But the theme that I was working with was the relationship in families, family relationships. A part of my journey had to do with living with my mother at one point in time, and living with my mother with my baby brother.
Oh.
And so that little boy there
Yes.
might very well be symbolic of me. So
Right.
even though this particular piece shows a woman who appears to be struggling with 2 children, my mother too struggled with both of us at one point in time.
Okay.
This clearly is not a representation of her profession, but it was symbolic of the struggles that we all had to go through together.
So you're saying that things that we go through in our everyday life influence what we create.
Certainly.
Very
Well, at least
good.
for me.
Yes.
Certainly.
Very good. Now, boys and girls, now we were talking about relief sculpture. We also have high relief and we have low relief. Can you tell me what type of relief sculpture this is? Very good. Yes, it is a low relief sculpture. Okay? Now, I'm going to allow Mr. Lawton to tell us some more about the pieces that he would have done. So, surprisingly, it is not as heavy as it looks. okay? But to move it easier, I'm putting it on this turntable, okay? There you go, so you can view it. Now, Mr. Lawton, can you tell me what technique you used to create this pot?
Oh, certainly. All right, so I would have used a coil technique to create the spot. The coils that I would have used for this, however, would have been relatively large. And the method of constructing, instead of scoring and applying slip, I would have wedged the coils together to create the form. And then after doing that, I would have went in and carved the lines. The inspiration behind this was just to create a form that represented the use of dynamic lines.
Okay, so how do you create a coil? Can you show me?
Sure, certainly.
Okay.
So here I have a bit of clay. And let me just stand for a bit. Okay. And so the coil that we would have used for this one would be relatively large. Now, to roll the coil, we create it by rolling. As you push forward, you apply pressure evenly. You try to ensure that the coil make a 360-degree turn. So every part of the coil is exposed to pressure evenly throughout. Okay, so the coils that I used to make this one would have been about this size. However, if we're making pieces that are much smaller, we would roll the coils thinner.
That looks like fun. Can I try?
Yeah, certainly,
Okay,
it is a bit of fun.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
So,
I'll see how well you do.
okay.
You're paying attention.
All right. And remember that you should have on your protective clothing. All right. So I'm going to try and get my hands dirty. So let me see if it is as easy as it looks. So, see?
Remember, you have to 360.
360.
Exactly.
Oh,
Gently.
it's not that, oh, gently. Okay,
Right.
there you go. All right, do I use both hands?
You
Can I
can.
use both hands?
And as you open the hand, pull both hands rather, to the end,
Okay,
it will cause the coil to stretch.
to stretch. Okay.
So you go in and move out, in and move out to get it longer.
Is this okay?
Actually, it's not quite what we'd like to see. You want your coils to be consistent.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily want one part of it to be bigger than the other. So this will really test your tactile abilities, your ability to use that sense of touch and feel to manipulate the clay.
All right, so
this is basically what we want to see. It
okay,
should be relatively
okay.
even.
So mine is not even at all.
So
all
you
right.
need some practice.
Okay, yes I do.
But you did well.
Okay, thank you.
You did very well, but you need some more practice.
Okay, good. Now I want you to tell me about some other pieces that you would have done.
All right, so as said before, I like to do pieces that explore certain themes that I would have had some experience with in life. Some other pieces that I would have developed in the past. I would have done pieces that under the theme facade.
Okay, good.
I was very fascinated with it. When I was in college, I learned about the concept of facade, how the Romans and the Greeks actually used it as a way of decorating the surface of their buildings. So it would appear as though it's very highly sculptural and all of these decorations, and they make the building look really solid. But it's all a facade, because all it is outward decorations. That's really not the true structure of the building. It's almost like a mask.
Okay, so almost like it's fake.
It is in a sense.
Okay.
But I was also, intrigued about the idea of us wearing that quote-unquote facade on a daily basis. The mask we used to show people what we want them to perceive about us, as opposed to what is truly there. And so some of these artworks that you see on screen are some that would have looked at that theme, the facade.
Okay, good.
As we look at this one in particular, you will realize that it has a mask to the left,
Right.
and then to the right of it, it has two small pieces of glass with a magnifying glass in the middle. Now that piece, you might look at it and wonder,
Yes.
how does this all work together?
Yes,
What
I was
does it all
wondering.
mean?
Yes.
Well, the piece to the mask to the right, if you look at it, you realize that it has on it some scaration, some scars.
Right.
So persons from African culture, they think that that is a sign of beauty. So they put the scars, and some persons might believe that piercings is a sign of beauty. And then the inclusion of the brass pieces on the mask could be, I don't know, maybe makeup or other means of creating an image that you want persons to celebrate.
And that is similar to what they would do in social studies. Right, when they're looking on the Tainos. Okay, very
Exactly.
good. So we see the overlapping. All right, any other piece that you want to point out?
Sure. There's this other piece, I call it submission. And the concept is not an original concept. I borrowed it from the Lady Justice statue.
Okay.
The Lady Justice statue, as for those of you who don't know what it is, it's that statue with the lady that's blindfolded. She has a sword in one hand and a balance scale in the other. Well, in this particular piece, I would have used a black man as my figure. He's kneeling and he has in his hand a balance scale and he's blindfolded. Now, what the message that this particular piece is sending to us as a people is that if you go to this particular man to buy, let us say, a pound of sugar, because he can't see you, he will not discriminate and say, oh, you're black, so therefore you're getting a pound and or a little less than a pound. Or, oh, I like you, so you're going to get a pound and a quarter. He can't see you, so he doesn't care.
Everybody gets the same amount, right?
Now, the reason why the figure is kneeling is that we all should submit to that way of thinking or that concept and treat all men as equals.
I like
that. So that's basically what we're trying to submit, share in that.
I love that.
That artwork.
And some persons might be wondering, so how can I make money from these? Do you make money from?
I certainly do. I personally make two different kinds of artworks.
Okay.
I make works that are considered to be fine art pieces, and I also make pieces that I mass produce.
Okay, so can you explain?
Sure, I certainly can. So the fine art pieces are the pieces that we would use in galleries and exhibitions. People normally like to collect them for their private collections or collections perhaps at a bank and so forth.
Similar to what we saw on the video tour.
Certainly.
Good.
And so those pieces, because you're selling them one off and they are your intellectual property, you're selling that intellectual property in that artwork forever, you normally fetch a bigger price for them.
Oh, I see.
However,
interesting.
When you're making your mass production pieces, for example, if you're commissioned to do a piece, let us say for a function or so, and you intend to use it for future, what I normally do is bring the price down because of my ability to reproduce it over a period of time. So it's more affordable, but I can make money from it over time. So basically that is my approach to the business aspect of art.
Interesting. One last question before, because I really want to go on that potter's wheel. So one last question before, you show me how to use the potter's wheel. Now, elements and principles of design, do you pay keen attention to that in creating your artwork?
You most certainly always have to pay keen attention to it. What I have come to realize is that when people, to create that wow factor or to evoke that wow factor in an audience, you have to carefully calculate how you're going to compose your piece of artwork.
Okay.
I find that you have to, it must be perfectly balanced as best as you're able. It must have a point of emphasis.
Okay.
You must see some contrast in it. It must be interesting from all angles.
Just like this one.
Very much so. So when you look at it, you look at one point, but that one point brings you to another, which brings you to another, which brings you to another, and it keeps the interest of the audience. So
Yes.
we are able to do that by using the elements as guided by the principles of art
Right.
effectively.
Very good. So can you just tell me, what element and or principle is represented in this piece?
Certainly.
Good.
So if you look at this section here, where we have this ball looking piece there, that part pulls your eye in. So that part would be representing, so this circle, the
Right.
element, would be used to represent the principle, emphasis.
Okay.
And if you look at the lines around it,
Yes.
these lines, we find that they swell at certain points and
Yes.
they get taper and get small at other points.
Right.
Those lines are used to show movement.
Very good.
And so the piece now becomes very dynamic because as you look at it, it gives you a sense of movement and flow,
Good.
right? So and to some extent, we could even argue some sense of rhythm. you know?
Yes, I agree with you. I don't disagree with what you're saying any at all. Interesting, but I'm so eager to go on the potter's wheel.
Okay.
Is it possible that you can show me how to use the
Certainly, I
potter's
can
wheel?
do that right now. We first have to prepare the clay, and I'm going to give you a little piece.
Yes, little indeed.
So, so the first thing that we're actually going to be doing, we're going to be wedging the clay.
Wedging
Wedging, well, most people would refer to it
as kneading.
because
So, right.
but it's called wedging for a specific reason, and
Okay,
you're going to
good.
see. But
All right.
the important thing about wedging is that we use this process to get rid of air pockets.
Okay.
And if the clay, if some parts are hard and some parts are soft, this wedging process will mix both textures so we get a uniform texture throughout the entire clay body.
All right. Ready?
So we're going to wedge. So this is what you do.
Yes.
Stance is important because you're
Alright.
not going to be using your strength.
Okay.
You're going to be using the weight of your body.
All right.
Okay.
There we go.
And we are going to push forward while pushing down at the same time.
This is hard.
Is it? Well, the thing is that technique is important here. And that's all it boils down to, technique. So you're gonna push it. Look at the side of mine. So as I push, I try and get it to slide on its base.
Okay.
So it pushes
Am
back
I
the
am
clay.
I am I doing it somewhat?
Yes, to a certain, yes, certainly,
Okay, good.
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So we grab these two parts,
Okay.
we push it forward, reverse, push it forward again.
This is not as easy as it looks. I'm telling you.
Well, it might not be as easy the first
But
time
it is
around,
fun.
But to be honest with you, once you get the knack of it,
Yes.
it's really easy.
Yes, and it's fun.
Okay.
It's getting my hands dirty, so
Now-
this is fun.
Can you describe for me?
It looks like a head, a horn, or
It does look like a horn.
right.
I was referring to here.
Oh.
So these are the wedges that we're talking
Oh,
about.
I see.
So, sometimes when you're cutting down the tree
Right.
and you cut that little triangle in the tree,
Right.
you place a triangular wedge in it to keep that section that is already cut open.
Okay.
So this triangular shape or this wedge-like piece is
Right.
why it's called wedging.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. So how much longer do we have to knead this before we go on the potter's
Not a
wheel?
whole lot longer.
Okay.
I'm basically almost finished with mine.
Okay. I mean, it's soft, but so
It's all in the technique, believe me.
so if boys and girls want to try this at home, where would they get clay?
Well, clay is available mostly in Kingston, the Kingston area, in St. Andrew. There are places in St. Elizabeth that they can source clay. But this particular clay actually was, I got this clay from a bunch of traditional Jamaican potters down in Maxfield, the Maxfield area.
Okay. So, but somebody would say, but it looks like dirt. Couldn't I get dirt on the outside and add water to it? Would it give me the same
Really,
result?
because clay has a particular characteristic that sets it apart from dirt.
Okay,
You wouldn't be able to do this with dirt.
that's true.
It's plastic, it's pliable. It
Okay.
has the ability to be bent and it holds the shape.
There you go.
But if you try this with dirt,
It
would
will
just
do
break.
that. That's true.
Okay?
Yes.
So
Okay.
let's step over to the potter's wheel and I'll
Okay.
show you step by step what needs to be done.
Okay.
Then you can get a try at it.
I can't
and we
wait.
can get a laugh at you.
Okay.
All right, so the first thing that we want to do is we need to create a ball. And we're going to use copper hand and mold the shape of the clay into that of a ball. Okay? And so this is pretty much good enough.
Okay.
We're gonna go now and
Mine don't look like a ball.
let me see.
I'm getting there.
Get in there.
Yes.
Certainly.
Okay, so I'll rest it here for a while.
Alrighty. So let us go. For those of you who don't know what this device is, it's actually called a potter's wheel. This one is motorized. The wheels before now, they normally used to kick a big wheel that was connected to the head of that kick wheel by a spindle. Okay? We're privileged to benefit from technology as we are able to use these motorized wheels. Now the first step in making pottery on the potter's wheel is to put a little moisture on the wheel's head. Let me move this so we can all see. And then we are going to slam the clay
Onto the
wheel head.
okay.
And you know, it's funny that as I slammed it down, I remember to remind you of what the whole process of making a pot on the potter's wheel, what it's actually called. It's called throwing. So when I slammed it, the process of making is called throwing. Now to get started, what we do, we press on the pedal like that. The more you press it, the faster it goes, and you bring it back, it slows down. Similarly to that of the gas pedal in a car. Okay? So we're going to start now, and the first step is to center
Okay.
the clay. So as it spins, you can see right here that it's a little bit wobbly.
That means it's not centered.
Exactly.
Okay,
It's
good.
not centered. Or it's so what we're going to do now is we're going to apply pressure to this side. We're going to apply pressure to this side. With my right hand, I'm pulling towards me. And with my left hand, I'm pushing forward.
Okay.
Then I'm going to press down a bit on the head of it. Add a little bit more water. And the water is a form of lubrication. Alright, so this clay is a bit firm
That's a good thing?
if you're making larger pieces.
Okay.
So the texture of the clay, what you're making depends. So if you're making a smaller piece, you may want to use a softer, like a medium
Okay.
firm. If you're making a larger piece, you want it to be like hard. So I'm going to press down. And as I press down, I'm pressing forward as well.
So why you have to press down and pull up so many times?
You're actually also trying to get to knead the clay on the wheel.
Okay.
So when we pull it up a while ago, it's to get the clay that, you know, kneaded and more pliable.
Okay.
Get it to be a bit more pliable rather. Now that we have it relatively centered,
Right.
we're going to open the centered mound of clay
Okay.
by inserting my finger at an angle.
Okay.
And the reason why you want to do that is once you put it at an angle, you'll be pressing against the wall of the clay as you go down.
I
And that is
see.
what maintains that symmetrical opening of the mound.
It looks easy, but
Yeah, it looks easy.
until I try.
We'll see. We'll see. Next step is to open it and we actually squeeze against the wall of the clay.
Okay.
Until it's open. Then we're going to smoothen the bottom of the piece.
How do you smooth the bottom?
So we are actually going to use my fingers and we place it in the center
Okay.
and pull it across the bottom until the bottom of it, the piece is completely smooth.
Okay.
We also have the option of using a bit of sponge.
Oh.
Having this piece of sponge handy is an indication that our students from the last class were actually paying attention.
Oh.
Alright, so the next step is we are going to pull the piece up.
So we're making it higher than that?
Yes, we are definitely going to make it higher. And we'll pull it up by applying pressure to the side, outside, as well as the inside. And so as you can see, pressing on the outside, and I'm pulling it up. And as you get closer to the top, the pressure on the outside, you reduce the pressure being applied on the outside. And I'm going to try that one more time. Applying pressure on the inside, on the bottom with the inside hand, as well as the outside. And as we move upward, we're getting closer to the top. We start to apply less pressure with the hand on the outside. Now, one of the advantages of using a piece of sponge is that the sponge holds the moisture.
Oh.
So it causes the clay to slip through your hands with relative ease. I'm going to try again once more to see whether or not we can get this to go a bit higher. This piece of clay, let's get rid of it. Almost lost my sponge. Alright, so see that inside finger poking out? So the concept when you're pulling really is, I've heard one instructor speak about it in reference to an elevator. The hand on the inside is on top of the finger on the outside, and the clay is in between.
Okay.
So the clay is the elevator,
I remember
and
that.
then the finger is on top of the elevator. But this is the lift that brings the elevator up.
Okay.
Okay? Wonder if it can You think it can go any further?
Well, I think it can, but then I'm afraid that it might fall apart.
It might fall apart?
Yes.
Well, there's one way to find out.
And again, it depends on the thickness of the clay, I'm guessing.
Well, it does depend on the thickness of the clay, but as I said before, the firmness of the clay
Determine how
actually
okay, good.
allow me to bring this thing perhaps as high as I want to. But we're not going to do that for today's demonstration. We're done pulling.
Okay,
So
good.
the next step is we're going to be shaping the piece now.
So before you shape it, can I try? I mean, with my little piece?
Well, you could, but we'd have to remove this from the wheel. And so it's best if we get one finished first, and then you can get a try.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm eager to try.
I recognize that. I definitely recognize that. So, when we're shaping, the hand on the outside is used to maintain a sense of balance, while the hand on the inside is used for applying pressure. And you want to ensure that the spot on the wall of the clay that you're touching, it makes a 360 turn. It must.
Okay.
If you don't, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a piece that wobbles.
Wobblies, yeah.
Now, if you notice also that when we were wedging, I spoke to you about removing air pockets.
Right.
Another thing that causes wobbling
Is
when
air
you're
pockets?
throwing, that would be the air pockets. You don't want to have air pockets in your pieces, because as when you touch it, it starts to create this, it makes the piece, the form deform. A sense of wobbly, deformed look. Okay? Now we're going to close out the top of the piece by applying this technique called coloring.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. It's almost like when you're grabbing that chicken by the neck.
Good. So I'm preparing my clay to throw in the meantime.
Okay. And if you've ever wondered sometimes how it is that, potters make these pieces, and when you wonder how their hands get in it because the opening is so small, this is how. So we keep the opening wide at first, and then as we get closer to the top, we close off that shape. And so we have a bottle.
Okay, good.
Okay?
I'll try to make a little, emphasize little, a little dish
bottle.
or a little dish.
Okay. Oops, look at that. Made a mess of the top, but no worries. It can be fixed. Beauty about clay. Clay is like painting. If you're working on it and you run into difficulty, you can fix it easily.
Okay. Just like what you did.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Okay? So basically
right.
that's it. That's how we go about
Interesting.
making a piece on the potter's wheel.
I
Are you ready?
think I am ready.
Right. We're gonna see how well you're able to do this. I'm gonna remove this piece.
So what are you going to use to remove it?
Alright, so today I brought with me some handy bats.
Handy what?
Bats.
Bats?
So bats, throwing bats.
Oh, okay.
So the throwing bat is this round this.
Oh, so you're
That's potter's wheel.
there you
So I just
go.
remove this.
Good.
Okay. What this does, it gives me the opportunity to go back and work on the piece again.
Very good.
If I'm not 100% finished with it.
Okay. So you have a handy bat for me?
I have a bat for you. It's handy because it allows me to take the piece off the wheel without distorting it.
Okay.
So we have another one for you that we need to just set up here. And now we are going to allow you to make an attempt.
Yes. An attempt it is.
All right, so we're going to see if you remember the steps.
Yes.
Now.
So the first thing that I'm going to do is to
okay. So if
for the
I
little
have my
water.
checklist with me today,
I
I'll
get
check
that.
that off.
Very
So
good.
I've got that right.
Now,
Let's see how much.
that's,
Is it a muddy puddle or is it just a little?
it's just a little bit.
Okay, good, great.
So I'm going to wow.
You're going to toss it as best as you're able to the center.
that's not center, is
Well,
it?
we don't know until you start. So you put the thing on the clay, the ball on the wheel,
Right.
which you did that great.
Good.
What's the next step?
So I guess I do this.
Gonna get the wheel going?
No,
Remember what to do?
it's not going. Oh.
All right, so perhaps before you start, you want to just fool around with the pedal.
Yes.
So you get a feel of what it does. So
Right.
if you go down, it goes fast. If you go too fast, it will be a bit difficult for you to manage. So you want to reduce the speed, okay?
All right, so it's as if it's stuck. It's not stopping. I'm not pressing it.
Oh, no, it's actually not stuck.
Really?
So if you bring your heel
Uh-huh.
on the back of it,
Oh, I see,
a
I
pedal.
see. I see, I see. All right.
that should be a good speed for you.
Yes, it is.
All right,
Yes.
so good, that's that. So you would have gotten 1, 2, 3 checks so far.
Very good.
Keep it lubricated. So it's
Right. Ah! Okay.
okay. Now you need to apply some pressure.
I'm trying. I'm
All
trying.
right, so here's a trick. Apply pressure by pushing it forward with both hands. as
Pushing
though
it
you're pushing
like
it
this
off
way?
the wheel.
Oh, that way?
Yep.
That way? Okay. All right. Oh, guys, this is fun.
Is it?
Yes, it
But
is.
it's actually you who are supposed to throw the clay, not the clay. The clay has your hands going like it slipped off. What
yes,
does
it
that
did.
mean?
So that means it wasn't centered.
No, it means that we have too much lubrication on the
Oh,
surface of the wheel.
all right.
So stop the wheel,
All right. So I clean it off.
and you need to get off some of the excess moisture. Excellent. And now we are going to bam. Need to get a more solid. All right,
Wow.
there you go. There you go.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
All right. So I try again.
Certainly. That's good.
Okay.
So you're going to use this section of your arm, this part.
Right here.
And you're going to push it forward.
Like that.
You're going to need a little bit more lubrication. So the clay would be easier for you to manage. So let me show you. 1 minute. For those of us watching, you're going to stick your arm here and push it.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Put your hand here. Push your hand here and push forward. Push forward.
I'm doing that.
Forward. More. More. More.
You guys, can I tell you that this is hard? It's taking a lot of muscles.
More.
Wow.
Well, if you don't push it,
I am pushing.
it's not going to be centered. So, but this is not bad. That's
Okay,
relatively
good.
good.
All
The
right.
next step is we're going to do this block breaking move.
Like
So
chopping.
this hand will be wrapped around, and you're going to use this hand
To push down. Oh, look at that.
while using this part. Alright. So that's relatively centered. So for your
Good.
first time, it's not too bad.
Ah.
Perhaps a B minus-ish.
Well, for now, until I master it,
Yes,
I'll live
certainly.
with that.
Alright, so we're now going to open. Do you remember what
Yes,
to do?
so I just barely hold my finger at an angle,
Yes, yes,
and insert.
certainly. At an angle.
Yes.
Do you notice what's happening?
It's,
Opening.
yes,
Is it balanced while it's opening?
no. Is it?
It is,
Oh.
actually.
Oh, good.
Symmetrically.
Yes.
So you need to apply a little bit more pressure now, going down. You can use this hand to support the finger, that finger.
Oh, so it's easier
Right.
to
so
open.
Right.
Oh.
So one finger on top of the other like this. Look, you apply
Oh.
the pressure going down.
Guys, this is taking a lot of muscles, but it's fun. Oops, oopsie.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
And so the next step,
Can it open some more?
sure, certainly. That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Good.
So the next step is to open. So we're going to pull on the side, but we're going to pull evenly. So you can't drag it. You have to ensure that as you pull, it makes that 360 turn.
All right, come show me.
All right, so we're going to pull on the side. You notice I'm not grabbing it
Right.
too fast.
Okay. All right, let me try. So, pull
On the side,
on the side.
hook the tip of your fingers.
Oh.
Hook.
So like this?
Yes,
Like this.
like a claw.
Right.
Pull into the base of it. Pull into the base with your fingers.
Oh. Oh, I see, I see.
So then stop.
Okay. Nice. Wow. You liking my pot? Yes. I feel so proud of myself. Nice, nice. So what's the next step?
Next step is you're gonna place your hand like so,
Right.
push against.
Woo! What's that sound? Okay. All right.
Okay? You're gonna use this hand to do that chopping motion along the edge here,
Like this?
while using this hand to hold the wall. So let me show you.
Yes.
So you hold with one hand,
Okay.
like so.
And chop with the other.
Try
Very
and
good.
get it nice and smooth through. Like that.
Good. So hold with one and chop with the other.
Hold.
Oh, hold
Exactly.
and chop. And press.
And you can also use a sponge for that. So instead of using your hand like that, you can just use it to
Okay, good.
hold along the edge. Exactly.
Good. This is easier.
Okay. Great. So the next step is you want to bring the sides in a bit.
Wow. This is just awesome.
Let me fix this for you. Alright, so the next step is to pull it. Pull up. And this is the more or less the final step for you.
Okay,
I
good.
wouldn't push it to the point of shaping a piece, but
All right, so I pull it up like it's going to wobble.
so you're gonna use this hand, these fingers. You're gonna apply the pressure on the outside, and you bring it. Oops.
Told you.
360. See how important that is?
Yes.
360.
Can you fix it?
Sure. Alright, so clearly you need a little bit more practice. So
Yes,
let me
I
just
do.
show you. So we're gonna just finish this off for you today. And you're gonna practice, okay?
Or I will. All right, so I had fun. So let me stop this. So guys, do you like my pot? I got help from Mr. Lawton. Yes, our pot. I got help. All right. So I'm not versed with the potter's wheel any at all, right? And I learned a lot today. Okay. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to wrap up. All right. So we're going to just look at what we did today. All right. So I'm all dirty. I'm all messy, right? So Mr. Lawton would have showed us how to, what's the word again, Mr. Lawton? How to throw on the potter's wheel. Yep. Very good. And he also showed us how to make a coil.
Exactly.
Correct? Right? And he told us about his work and how he would have used the elements and principles of art, of design, into creating a piece of work. Now, there's only one other little method that I know that you guys would enjoy at home, and it's called the
pinch method.
The pinch pot method. Very good. So I'll just quickly demonstrate. I know this will just take.
Demonstrate with this nice clean piece of clay that has no stuff on it. So it basically we start off with the same exact technique as before. We create a ball, a relatively round ball.
And then you can do this at home, guys.
So this is something that can be done at home. So after creating our ball, the first thing that we would do is insert our thumb in the center of the ball. Right? And we want to almost feel the thumb, but we don't want it to come all the way through. Then we apply even pressure throughout the piece, the wall of the piece. Okay? And we're using what I like to describe as the profile of your thumb. So the shape of the thumb here is what we use to create the piece. Right. Gently pinch until we have a vessel emerging from that ball of clay. Now once you're satisfied with the surface quality of the interior, meaning is it relatively smooth, then we would focus our attention on the surface quality of the exterior of the piece. And we would pinch to get rid of the inconsistencies within the shape. Okay? So we would pinch and pinch to get rid of all of those bumps and the lumps.
And then they'll just fix it up how they want to.
Exactly.
Okay.
And basically that's what the pinch method is all about.
Very good. So we learned another method. All right, so we looked at the pinch pot, we looked at the coil, and we also looked at how you throw the clay. All right, so I hope you had fun today, because I know that I had fun. I had fun on the potter's wheel. I had fun getting my hands dirty. I had fun working with you, Mr. Lawton.
Well,
thank you very much for coming out and really talking to my students on how to do ceramics.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Until next week, see you.